Welcome back. It's always a good day when we love our guest shoes. So our first guest, next guest rather, I should say, thought she had found the love of her life. He was everything she was looking for. But then things started to go a little south. And bit by bit, she realized maybe the guy isn't who she thought he was. And then she wrote a book about it. Give it up for the author of You're My Favorite, Ginny Priem, everybody. Hi, Ginny.
Hello. Hello.
Okay. I told Ginny during the break that I have a story very similar, but I want to hear the nuts and bolts of yours. We're going to call him Chad in the book. And Chad, let me just set this up too, is still out there. Let's just say that right off the bat. How did you meet Chad?
It was kind of a casual encounter. We met on a boat, and I wasn't really interested in dating him, partly because my life was so good, but partly because he had 2 kids. And so I was a little bit hesitant, but...
Young kids?
Young kids.
Okay.
And part of the reason why I call him Chad, to tie that in, is because I'm still very close with his kids and ex-wife. Oh, yes, so that...
God, I love you. Okay, yeah, okay.
So that speaks a little bit to the, the situation in this scenario, that we have a very close relationship. But yeah, that's how we met, and I was a little bit slow, and he kind of, opened the door a little bit, and I fell in love with him, and I also fell in love with his kids.
When did you, because y'all should read the book, so we're not going to give obviously everything away, but do you remember, you said you were deeply in love, do you remember a first sign or something that you were like, ooh, your spidey sense was tingling?
Oh yeah, when I found lingerie tags in the bathroom basket that weren't my size. That was the first one.
We'll be right back. No, well, really?
Really, yeah.
Lingerie tags.
Yes, and he is a master manipulator, so he talked his way out of it. Crocodile tears, like I was abandoned when I was a child, and you shouldn't make fun of that, right? Like that is a serious thing, but just has a really great way of the manipulative tactics to kind of pull you back in and excuse things away. It's fascinating.
Okay, so you find the lingerie tags and you confront him. Did you buy in the back of your mind, did you buy his explanation?
In hindsight, no.
Okay.
But I was too far in at that point where it's almost like harder to let go than it is to think about what your future could look like by exiting, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Especially people can relate, because especially you are now you're committed and you love his family. You like the life. I get it. People can probably relate to that. Okay. Did things get worse from there?
Yes, like when I got shingles on my face because my body was so stressed.
Really?
Yeah.
How long did this go on?
We were together just shy of 1.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how much of that was good and what portion of that pie was bad?
I think overall it looked good from the outside, right? Like that's a big part of it, is he likes to portray a certain image of himself. And so I think for me, a lot of it was then I had this instant family and I really did love it.
Yeah.
And so I think a good portion of it seemed good, but there was always this nagging thing in the back of my mind, at least for a good portion of the relationship. But when it was over, it was over.
Okay, but he lied about the lingerie. Did the deceptions get, not that that wasn't serious, but did the deceptions get more serious and more horrible?
Yes. So it's not even just cheating. And I know a lot of times people will say that they'll read my book and be like, oh, a lot of people get cheated on. But there's financial deception. There's this whole portrayal of him being who he is. He loves Schedule II and Schedule III drugs, which was something that he denies. But recently, some other women have sent me photos and documentation that they have done these things with him while he was with me. There was the finding him on kinky websites. There's a whole slew of things. We would need a lot more than
2 television morning show segments. Yeah. Well, we're going to have another one, though, when we come back. More with Ginny when we return. Back in a moment. Oh, my goodness. Well, I mean, hello, the book is that thick, so there are stories. Welcome back, everyone. More with author Ginny Priem. The book, You're My Favorite. What's the title about? I mean, is there a reason?
There
has
is a
to
reason,
be. Okay,
yeah.
I don't want to give away. Okay. Well, yeah, can you sign it?
Sure. So it was the phrase that I came up with to say I love you before that became comfortable for me. Yeah.
Oh, you're my favorite. Okay, I like that.
Yeah. And little did I know the actual meaning that it had. Like, how many were there?
Yeah, how many favorites were there?
Who knows?
Who are you buying that lingerie for? Okay, so deception, 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 deception. You kick them out. You then realize, as the Michael Jackson song saying, you are not alone. And you went on, thank you, that was a horrible imitation, but there's a Facebook group, right? Tell the folks about this. This is so fascinating to me.
This is a recent development. So I got invited into this secret Facebook group where you can find out information like red flags, tea. A photo of him was posted and instantly there was like 100 women commenting. Like, I don't even know how many there are.
It's like an old Western wanted photo.
Yes, it is. And then another one was posted within like the same week and the comments ensued. Well, what happened is all of these women started talking with each other in the DMs. They started sharing my book with each other. And then they all started reaching out to me saying, I also am a survivor of the real life Chad. And that's where all of this information has, like this recent information has been coming from. Like they've been sending me additional photos and screenshots and documentation. A lot of it, like one woman was dating him on and off for 8 years. She's gonna come on my podcast. Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of these women, I'm just doing the math, probably intersected your relationship.
Yes.
There probably weren't a lot of 694s. They were all straight 35W during your, yeah. That's a highway here, 94 in Chicago. There we go, yeah. Let me just tell you, because I hate when people say I know how you feel, but one of the reasons, other than we have mutual friends, and I loved your story, I know how you feel because I've talked about this before. I had a guy that I dated who said that, that they worked for the Hillary Clinton campaign, was a tennis officiant, architect, ran for public office, and was British. Everything that I just listed was, there's one thing true, and it wasn't British. He was not British and didn't work for the Hillary Clinton campaign. Got us into an event. As I die, my last breaths on earth, I will always wonder, how did he get us into that event? Because I was like this close to Hillary going, hey girl, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And anyway, and afterwards, just like you, I got into contact with someone, a survivor of this person as well. And yeah, it was, so I say that not to take the focus off you, but I get you. I get it. I get it.
But that's a lot of what it's about. Is I'm really grateful that I did have the capability to be vulnerable enough to share my story, because it has provided validation and connection and community for so many people. And of course I wanted to raise awareness of the Chads of the world, but I had no idea how many women were actual victims of
Chads.
The Chad.
The Chad.
The Chad.
Not this multiple Chads, the Chad, yeah. Talk to us before we go, your podcast.
Oh yeah, it's called Drinking with Gin. So we have relatable chats.
I'm there already.
Drinks.
Okay,
yes,
yeah.
Exactly. And it's really a life improvement podcast. So it's like the story in the book is juicy and this Facebook group is juicy. But I like to talk about the growing and the healing journey as well. So I bring on expert guests and we have just really great conversations.
Because that's the entry point. That's the beginning of the story. There's more, there's the end of the story too, and there's the growth that comes from it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Come back anytime.
Oh, I would love to.
Give it up for Ginny, everybody. As we said, check out her podcast, Drinking with Jen, wherever you get your podcast. And You're My Favorite, available right now on Amazon. We'll be right back. Back in a moment.